Salute to all the Patreon members. I want to thank you guys for your support. It really means a lot to me. If you guys can do me a favor, hit the like button, share this video, check out the link to the description box below for the Patreon page. Once again, salute to all the Patreon members, the new subscribers, all the subscribers. Thank you very much for your support. So I didn't just find this on my own, okay? I didn't just come across this post on my own. This post, I got it from a guy by the name of Danilo De La Rosa, okay? Danilo De La Rosa, okay? I saw an interview with him from a different YouTube channel. If I forgot his name. I forgot the name of your YouTube channel. I apologize because he did a really good interview with Danilo and he was dropping some gems, okay? But Danilo, I went over to his TikTok page and he was showing this. And basically it's a post from, where's this post from? It's from an Instagram post. I think I cropped it. Anyways, forget it. It's like Medellin Unseen or something like that. That's the name of the Instagram post. But I'm going to zoom in for you guys to see. I know it's kind of hard at this angle. Is this a little bit better? So Unseen Medellin, that's the Instagram account that I got this post from. And they talk about everything Colombia. They talk about other cities in Colombia also. And this is coming from the city of Cartagena. Okay, Cartagena is not too far from Barranquilla. Barranquilla and Cartagena, those are like the two major cities that are on the coast that's closest to Panama. They are kind of far from Panama, but they're the closest two cities to Panama. Medellin is kind of in somewhat sort of in the middle of Colombia, but Cartagena is along the coast. All right. Cartagena is to have an official adult zone. The city is moving forward with the plan to create a designated area where adult nightlife and sex work will be centralized and regulated under the new urban planning plan, POT. So the thing is I know Cartagena is not Medellin, but Medellin is kind of like the heart of Colombia. They've been kind of putting a message out there to the public. Do not, basically saying to the public, don't come here. Men from all over the world, don't come here for sex tourism. I've been hearing rumblings about this for the longest. I didn't believe it because a lot of women seemed like they were the ones reporting this. It didn't seem like it was coming from a statement from the government, but I've been seeing a lot of men, including Danilo, talk about how other men, reporting on how other men are being turned away because randomly they're being picked out of a lineup. They get interviewed, they look through their phones, and they see, hey, you got a duffel bag full of condoms, and you've been talking to like 25 different women before you came out here. So we're just going to turn you around. All right. So what is this right here? You know, on one end, you're sending the message to people out there, don't come here for sex tourism because of, you know, it seems like you're being more than just an immigration officer. It seems like you're being the moral police also. Don't come here for that. You're trying to exploit us. You're trying to exploit the women. Even though the local Colombian men over there, they're engaging in, you know, with the prostitutes out there. They're paying for sex, okay? The local men are paying for sex. The police are paying for sex. Politicians, I'm sure they're probably paying for sex. And, you know, that's just a way of life in places around the world. It's not just Latin America. It's just a way of life around the globe, okay? I lived in Asia. For those that don't know, I lived in Asia for 8 years. I lived in Thailand. I lived in Taiwan. I lived in China. And I visited to pretty much every major country you could think of and little countries in between over in Asia. They all had a red light district, and you know, countries that had more of an influx of foreigners and tourism than other countries, when these men were seeking out women of the night, they have a thing where it's like, okay, the foreigners will give the Filipinos and the Vietnamese women over to the foreigners. We won't have them touch our women, but our men, they can seek out a woman for the night from our women. That was heavy in Japan. Japan, if you're seeking a woman for the night, they're going to give you somebody that's not Japanese, more than likely. Not to say that you can't, right? But some places they'll be like, okay, you know, I got these women. These other women are off limits, but these women over here, they're for you. Why? Because, you know, these are not Japanese women. We don't want you contaminating our women. That's kind of how they look at it. But that was just a way of life everywhere you go. It's some places on the books, it's illegal, but there's a gray area. It's something that's not really enforced, right? It has been implemented into their laws, but it's not enforced. We know life is hard. You work hard for however much you make every single month. Um, it's not easy to keep up with the Joneses, especially when you're looking at media posts from the West. But hey, there's a lot of women of the night that's over here to relieve the stress. All right. That's how it was not only in Asia, but it's like that in Africa. It's like that in Europe. And you see this over in Latin America. But for, you know, Medellin, even though there is a red light district, it's certain places, you know, we're not saying that sex work, prostitution is the face of Colombia. That's not what we're saying. But they're trying to turn people away that are coming over to Colombia, trying to make it seem like they are the face of that. It's kind of like you don't need to do all this thirsty stuff prior to you coming over, right? They don't want you coming over just for sex tourism. They want you to, hey, Google search some museums, Google search some you know, some travel destination spots over here. Then if you so happen to run across the red light district, then get you some over here. But if that's the only thing you're seeking out before you get over to Colombia, it seems like they're turning a lot of guys away. Do I think they're turning a lot of guys away just because they're looking for sex? No. I think they're saving a lot of guys. I think they're doing this to save a lot of guys from themselves. That's what I think. And that's just my conjecture. I don't think that, no, you're exploiting these women. Look, the local men are exploiting those women, if you want to use that word. I don't even like the term exploiting. Okay. People only making $200 a month. This is how women live. They're bringing this money back to their family, to their kids, right? It's just a way of life over there. But also, you know, over the years, you've seen a lot of foreigners, especially a lot of Americans, go down to Colombia and they lose their lives getting scoped, getting drugged, from being around these women, right? Bringing multiple women back over to their place. One is keeping one guy preoccupied while the other woman is making drinks. He drinks the drink. He passes out. She put too many, you know, too much of the drug in the drink. You know, he ends up passing out, overdosing, losing his life. Now they're taking all this stuff, right? I think that's why they're turning a lot of guys away from Colombia. Because let me tell you, Medellin is one of those places where you have to check in. You know, in the hip hop world in America, they talk about checking in. I think Detroit started that, or Detroit was the most vocal about that with Trick Trick. Look, that's for people in that world, rappers and entertainment. As a civilian, you don't have to check in with anybody, right? You could check in and talk with people to see like, hey, where are the tourist spots? Which spots should I stay away from? This, that, and the third. But in Medellin and other places in Colombia, more specifically in Medellin, dude, like you really have to check in. All right. You have to check in. It's not that hard to check in. Checking in could be as easy as paying some money to a taxi driver and be like, hey, look, I'm new out here. I don't know the ins and outs. I just want some protection. How much I got to pay you to be protected? How much I got to pay you for somebody to show me around? How much do I have to pay you, so that I'm secure, so that when I go someplace, people know, okay, he's paid, he's connected, he tapped in, make sure he's safe because he's paying. Who do I got to see for that? You pay him, he might be able to help you, or he's going to introduce you to somebody that can help you. And then you go from there. That's how you move in places like Medellin. All right. I don't know about Cartagena. All right. Because we're on the topic of Cartagena. I don't want to go off topic. But I think they're deterring a lot of people away to save them for themselves. All right. You come out here thirsty, duffel bag full of condoms. We're looking in your phone. We're reading some of the messages. We're looking at some of the Google searches, and your mind isn't on anything else. Then we don't want another M under our belt. We don't need another death under our belt. And then because you guys coming over here in droves, and these women and some of these men that they're working for are doing this to you, it makes us look even bad, right? It makes us look even bad. We don't mind you coming over here and messing around with the women, but it's a real jungle out here, right? If you look too desperate and thirsty and you don't know how to move over here, then we're just gonna save you from yourself, right? Because you're gonna get hurt, and we don't want that. And then more people, that's going to turn more people away. That's going to make us hot, so I think that's why they're doing it, but I could be wrong. But if they're saying we're turning you away because we don't want you to exploit the women over here, even though there's a bunch of women that are working women, even though that's the culture over there, and that's not a negative thing to say that. That's not the face of the culture. It's a part of, it's an element of the culture down there. Why are you having this? Right? Okay, we're going to create an adult zone for everybody to just, it's going to be like in The Wire. Hey, this is a whole street where you guys can do whatever the fuck you want, sell your drugs, make your money. Remember that in The Wire? It was a supervised drug zone in The Wire, right? By the police. And here it's like, it's like, come on, who are you fooling? Excuse me. Right? You're telling us, hey, we're not like that. We're changing up our image, as if you're cleaning up your image, and we need to get rid of you guys that are thirsty. We don't want you coming down here for sex tourism. But yet you're creating an adult zone for sex tourism, right? You're creating an adult zone. This post is in English, so it's going to attract mainly a lot of people from around the world, not just people in America, because the universal language around the globe is English. All right, so this is going to attract people from around the globe. You didn't put this up in Spanish. You put this up in English because the local people, they know where to go. When they need some, when they need to, when they need some release, when they need to release that pressure valve. All right. So what is it? We know what we know so far. What is it? An adult zone or tolerance zone where legal adult activities, mainly sex work, will be allowed and regulated. It's probably already going on, but they're making it a designated place where, like they say, regulated. So, there's certain countries. I know Panama, they have this Panama sex workers. They have to register themselves and their IDs to the country of Panama. Like, Panamanian women, some Panamanian women, they have actual IDs showing that they're a sex worker. Why now? It already exists across the city. The goal is to centralize it to reduce activity in tourist and residential areas, improve safety. And that's what I mentioned earlier about Medellin. We're talking about Cartagena now. Most people, they go to Medellin. When they go to Medellin, trying to have a good time and then looking for women of the night, they say, hey, look, um, over in this region right here, we can't ensure that you'll be safe, right? We can't, we're not sure if you're going to be safe. We don't have that type of task force over here, probably. All right. There's a lot. I'll just say this. There's a lot going on in Medellin. All right. I'll put it like this. Everybody's connected in Medellin. Everybody. So we can't make sure that you guys are going to be safe. But we can do this in Cartagena. And I'm pretty sure the views are nice in Cartagena. It's along the coast. There's a content creator that I follow. She's Colombian. She lives in Cartagena. And she does comprehensible input. I watch hours and hours and hours of her content. And she breaks down, everything in, the city of Cartagena and stuff like that. The places to go, how the coast looks, everything in Spanish. Prevent exploitation and crime, monitor and control what already happens, right? This is already going on. I'm glad that you're opening up about this. This is already going on, but we're monitoring it to make sure you guys are safe so you don't get scoped. So it's probably like, hey, if you come through here, this zone right here, any women that comes through here, they probably got to be checked and ID'd, check their bag, check their pockets, check their socks. You got to check in and check out, right? We don't mind you making your money because me personally, I don't think the country wants to deter foreigners and Americans away from the country. I don't think they want to turn them around because, they're overcharging foreigners. They're overcharging Americans, right? You might charge a local guy $20, $30 because he's Colombian, but an American, shit, I could probably get him for $400. So they want foreigners to come in so that they can make their money, feed their families, and then, this goes back into the economy, right? But there's so many deaths that it's like now it needs to be regulated. Where will it be? The exact location has not been announced yet. It will be revealed in the coming days as part of the POT update process. Remember, Urban Planning Plan, POT. I don't know how you get POT. Maybe the acronym is in Spanish. That's why. But the POT is an urban planning plan. Where is it in the process? Included in the new urban planning plan, POT, must be debated and approved by the city council. Expected discussion in 2026, could be implemented by the end of the year if approved. What would it include? Regulated sex work areas, age verifications, ID controls. Remember, I just told you about this in Panama. Security and monitoring nightlife venues within the area, focus on worker protection and legality. All right, so, to me, it seems like I'm pretty sure that street influence is heavier in Medellin than in Cartagena. I'm not saying it's not there in Cartagena. I'm pretty sure that street element is heavily prevalent in Cartagena as well. But it's kind of like we got it so much under control over in Cartagena that we can implement this. Supporters say bring orders to chaos, reduces crime and scams in tourist areas, protects workers and visitors, improves the city's image. It's about control, not promotion. Critics say Could create ghettos or segregation zones. I don't. Could create ghettos. I don't agree with that. I guess depending on which zone that you use, it could turn a bright area into darkness, if that makes sense. So this one street that we've designated to the POT zone over here, this was a place where families and everybody could go to. Now you can't. Now it's the adult zone, so you got to walk around it if you're not into that kind of stuff. So I get it, what they mean by that. But ghettos, no. I guess what once, or the areas that once were quiet, calm, peaceful, now you're going to see a lot of half naked women out there. You're going to see a lot of desperate, thirsty, perverted men from all over the world in these areas. And in some of these areas, what it can do, it can raise confusion and crime in certain areas. So I'm pretty sure these adult zones, it's not going to be like Walmart. It's not going to be like Target where you come in and there's a register and stuff like that. It's not going to be like a sex spa. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be word of mouth, hand to hand, and there's always going to be confusion with that. Same thing what I've reported about in Pattaya. Over in Pattaya on Walking Street, you see a lot of, these lady boys beating up Indians and other foreigners over discrepancies about how much they think they were supposed to get paid for what they did. And they feel like people don't want to pay up. So I actually, maybe ghettos isn't the right term, but I kind of see where they're coming from. May normalize or expand sex tourism. I mean, come on now. Come on now. That's already been going on. Expand it, like normalize. I think if you centralize it in a zone, then it's kind of like it frees up areas where, where ladies were once trapping out of, in certain neighborhoods. Now it's kind of like, well, they could take a ride over in that centralized location to make their money, and they're probably making more money. Right? What does this do for the average local man? I don't know how they're gonna, I don't know the locations. Maybe it's just in their home or, whatever the case may be, their little, Fox motels or whatever with the local men. But for tourists, see, they want that money. That's what they want. They want the money. They know how much money y'all bring in. And if reports keep coming out that there's deaths, robberies, kidnappings and stuff like that, you're scaring the money away. And then it's kind of like, we have something in place. So you guys that are coming down here, you need to turn back around for now. And guess what? They're going to lose their money. So a couple of guys losing their money, it's like whatever. They're trying to get the reports out that somebody was drugged and robbed and killed to zero. That's what they want. Risk exploiting vulnerable populations. So I guess what they're saying right here, you got young, impressionable girls that instead of them looking for another Colombian man, possibly getting married, having a family, getting a job, being an honest worker, now she might think about becoming a sex worker. And they might not want that for their daughters when they get older. I understand that. Negative impact on women and communities, same thing. The big question for Colombians is, so many people are against sex tourism. Why are cities like Cartagena and Medellin continuing to structure, regulate, and ultimately monetize it for their own benefits instead of eliminating it? Is this about solving a problem or controlling and profiting from it? I don't think it was ever about the people being against sex tourism. It's about the local people against robbing and drugging and the deaths behind it, the criminality behind it. That's what they're against. That's what I really feel. So, you know, it says over here, this isn't about legalizing what doesn't exist. It's about organizing what already does. Facts. Officials say the goal is safety, order, and preventing exploitation. Sex tourism is a reality and major part of Colombia's tourism economy. The debate is just beginning. What do you think? Like I said, man, there's guys, pause, who are hot and ready when they show up to the airport. And you could tell, like, hey, man, these guys are green. They don't understand what they're in for. I'm reading some of these messages. They're talking to women on dating apps. These women on dating apps, they're going to target you and set you up and get you robbed and killed. You don't holler at women from dating apps. All right. So, what do you guys think about this? Do you think, they're really trying to get rid of the image of them getting rid of sex tourism? They don't want to be looked at as a sex tourist destination. They're looked at as, hey, this is a tourist destination with a lot of history and things to learn over here. There's a language to be learned. There's food that you can try. There's museums that you can visit. There's monuments you can look at. There's churches, old towns that you can walk through and look at. Or they're trying to say, hey, this is money, but over in certain areas, we have to clean up what's in our backyard first to get everybody on board, right? So you got to get the street dudes to be on board with this also. We get them on board, we organize this thing, then we can really make money so we can stop people dying, because, people that are dying, losing their lives over here is making us look bad. What do you think? Right? Do they want to clean up their image and now they're changing their mind, or they're just trying to organize their image? All right. Let me know. Hey, look for me in the next live stream. I'm going to talk about Meg Thee Stallion and Klay Thompson. I'm over and I'm out. Peace.